virtual people. Welcome to episode 23 of Fandom Spotlite's VCR Redux, where we take your favorite franchises out of the analog era and bring them back to 2021. I'm your host, pop culture punk Chris Stiles, joined as always by my co-host with the most, film professor Ian Klink.
How you doing, everybody?
And we have two radical guests on the show tonight. First up, our own honorary third host from Rick Barth and the Line. Oh, Mickey, you're so fine. Mickey Torres is on the show.
What's up, everyone?
And rounding out this righteous crew, coming all the way from the West Coast, she runs a recording and post-production studio. She's been called a human IMDb. She's produced a multitude of special edition DVDs and Blu-rays, and she recently lent those producing talents to the highly anticipated Angela the Sleepaway Camp documentary. Melanie Mullen is on the show.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Thank you so much for coming on the show. We are here today to go on a water gun crime spree, to serve up some chow down, and to eat smiley pies till we drop. The time has come to get Junior Healy and the Problem Child franchise paroled from movie prison. But before we can get the penguin in a pot and give this sequel some kicks, we need to talk about how it came into our lives and what we love about it. We'll start with Melanie, but that also goes for you guys watching at home. Hit us up in the live chat with your Problem Child stories. So, Melanie, Problem Child first time. We talking VHS, cable, theaters?
I mean, I'm guessing it was probably on TV. I think I would have been maybe a little too young to go see it in theaters. But I do remember it just being on TV all the time. And it's just one of those movies that's just always on. And so I've seen it many, many, many times because it's just one of those movies you just see it on and you're like, oh, okay.
You know, it's funny because I think there are actually, maybe only in the sequel, but I think it's one of those movies that has TV scenes that are only in the movie when it airs on network television. Like they add it with a couple extra scenes, like Teen Wolf has a few scenes like that. That may be a little Problem Child trivia. I may be wrong about that, but if anyone in the chat knows, let us know. Guys, do you remember the first time Problem Child? Ian, Mickey?
Oh, well, this is, whether it's meta or not, this is a USA movie. This was on, I swear, every weekend on USA. And so, as we've said many a times on this show, Gilbert Gottfried on USA Up All Night or USA Weekend, it's like you're watching Gilbert introduce a movie with Gilbert. There's nothing better in life, all right? There's a Mr. Goodbar. There is a really good book. There's, Diet Mountain Dew. And then there's literally Problem Child with Gilbert Gottfried. Those are things. If you had Chinese food in there,
I was gonna say throw in a Little Caesars pizza and like a 2-liter of cherry Coke, and it's like the most lit Friday night of my grade school years.
Bastard, Chris.
Little Caesars, nice.
Well, in the Midwest, Little Caesars was everything. I don't know why. It was like a
Little
special...
Caesars used to be good. I'm telling. Before they did this $5 thing, they had the best Canadian bacon pizza.
Wow.
That
is another. That's interesting.
Really good.
Okay, Melanie, I will give you that. There's something about getting the crazy bread and crazy sauce.
I love that stuff. Love that stuff.
Bread is good.
That is fair.
So, Mickey, first time seeing Problem Child. We're talking theaters.
Yeah, it was theaters. I saw these the first two or the two in theaters. I mean, this was prime, like for me, like, I mean, this is 1991. I'm like in 8th grade, going into freshman year of high school, basically, whatever case may be. So I'm older. So this was like dating time for me. This is like, what are you going to do?
Is this another date movie?
This is another episode of Mickey dating stories. Yes, I love it.
Did you have a job? Like, you're always going to the movies. You always have money for dates. Like, what is this?
Mickey is John Cusack, and you are just realizing it now. I've known this ever since I met him. It's why we became best friends. But in real life, Mickey is John Cusack, and he is the Romeo that is just broken thousands of hearts everywhere he goes.
I mean, movies were that expensive at those days. So it's like, borrow a couple bucks from mom, whatever like that. Go take the girl to the date because it's I mean, like you go to the mall had the movie theaters. So, and I mean, you're that age, whatever case may be. If you're going by yourself and not with like an older kid or whatever case may be, you can't get to the R-rated movies. So you watch Problem Child.
I just think it's funny that like there's like young high school Mickey like trying to take girls to like watch movies and make out, and you're taking them to like Problem Child, which is a bold move, you know, really.
I mean,
because you know what? Who am I to laugh? Because I'm like in my late 30s now, and like if I ever get a girl to come over, I'm like, you want to watch Problem Child on Blu-ray? So
I did better with fried green tomatoes, but
I don't even have a response to that.
Yeah,
I did better on fried green tomatoes.
It's the same when you're talking about
that. What does that mean
when you're talking about making out at the theaters? I mean, like it's a movie not to watch.
What's gonna make a girl make out with me? Let's see a movie about a woman killing her abusive husband and turning him into green tomatoes. What is the matter with you, man?
Oh my God. So there is some action in the chat already.
Melanie, don't leave us. We promise.
Yeah, right. Poor Melanie. She's like, what the hell have I gotten myself into?
I was just going to say, if anything, I feel like Problem Child is really good birth control.
Oh yeah, it definitely was. I mean, like, you know, I never wanted kids anyway, so I was like, no, I'm good.
Yeah, I don't want kids, but it's still one of those things where I'm like, yep, I made the right choice.
Mm-hmm.
That's amazing. You know, that actually took on like a sort of double meaning, because I thought you meant at first that it was good birth control for Mickey. Like, take your date to Problem Child. Like, that's effective. Like, nothing's going to be going on here. Like,
that too.
I mean, I don't know. Like at that age, I don't know what's going down in the movie theaters. But I'm like,
now I'm just thinking about my own high school.
I'd be laughing too much at this amazing movie. There's no time to hold hands.
I mean,
this is Gilbert Gottfried, people. Come on.
But you got to remember too. I've seen these movies in these movie theaters. I mean, like obviously, like it wasn't one time that I saw Problem Child in the theaters. It was multiple times, because it was just like, you know, like, oh, you know, it's a movie that's out that I can go see, whatever case may be.
So you drove up the surprise sleeper hit of 1990 with multiple viewings. Wow.
Good
for you, sir. Good for you. Sidebar, I'm going to blame all my lack of scoring on my love of the Problem Child movies from now on.
I mean, if that's your introduction and you add it with like a giggly laugh at the end, hey, you want to watch Problem Child? Like, it's not going to happen. Sorry, buddy.
So there is some action in the chat already. Robbie Lyle says hello. What up, Robbie? Thanks for tuning in. Alex Bonafante is already quoting the movie with touchdown, touchdown. Mike Saunders, Mashup Genius, says hello. Alex Bonafante says adjusting the tracking. Hang on. There's someone in the chat. Girls Not Blue says they love Sleepaway Camp. So kudos to you, Melanie. Yes. Alex Bonafante says in theaters, he saw this mushrooms on the pizza and mushrooms MDMA for him. Wow. Well played, Alex. That's a lot cooler than me. I was like 6 and I watched it on VHS. Spoiler alert. He also says, don't ask Mickey about his business. Never. All right, we'll try and make that a thing. And our good friends at Retro Fiend Radio, makers of some of the finest canon and martial arts documentaries on the internet, say, saw it for the first time on the clock while I was working at Blockbuster Video when I was in high school. God damn, those guys are a lot cooler than me too. I got rejected by Blockbuster and Hollywood in my job applying days.
I worked at movie gallery, and the only day we could watch a movie was on Christmas Day, when we weren't going to get any customers in, but you know, for that one guy who would come in for the worst reasons ever. But I do remember that they would have this like looped video that would play over and over and over again on VHS with all the commercials for movies coming out. And I still to this day cannot listen to Punch Drunk Love without quoting Philip Seymour Hoffman every 5 minutes from that trailer. Or Cold Mountain. Let me tell you, when you get Renee Zellweger saying, like, you know, that line that she has in that movie, you know, it was raining. If you haven't heard that 160 times on a Saturday, you have not lived.
Okay, I don't even know. I'm not familiar with Cold Mountain, so that went over my head. But yeah, I'm jealous of everyone that got to do these.
Uncultured swine.
Now, if it makes you feel any better, I also interviewed for a job at Blockbuster, and I think if I remember correctly, I think I didn't get it because they couldn't get a hold of one of my referrals, like one of my references.
Oh,
wow.
Like, yeah. Like where
Wow.
am I? What kind of job am I applying for?
That is wild. You know, I remember
he did not get a hold of your, this one person. You just are not dignified to put Beverly Hills Cop 3 on your shelf.
Yeah.
If there's anything we can't stand for at Blockbuster, it's liars.
Yeah. Yeah.
We have higher standards here at Blockbuster.
She might price the used DVDs wrong.
We're gonna be around. We're gonna be around forever, Miss Liar.
I gave one of the best interviews in the history of the Hollywood Video Corporation, and so much so that my dyslexia, they had like this weird, like it was in between like a phone and like that like John Connor like hacking an ATM machine and T2 machine that you had to fill out the application on, and I'm dyslexic, so I like messed up. He's like, you messed up, you tanked, you got like the lowest score possible on the thing, so you have to take that again because we really want you to work here. And I took it like 3 times, and eventually we all just gave up. I'm like, I can't. If that's what this job is, like I have to use this Atari portfolio, then like I'm out. Like I can't, I'm sorry. But anyway, getting back to Problem Child, it was a movie that I wanted desperately to see in theaters. And, I think my parents took me to see like Dances with Wolves or some other bullshit that I didn't want to see when I was like 5 or 6 years old. That stuff always depresses me. Still to this day, I'm pretty bitter about it. Thanks, Mom and Dad. Just kidding. I got over it. Dances with Wolves is actually kind of a good movie too.
Yeah, but not a kid movie.
No, you're crazy. It's not as bad as the time they took me to see Pet Sematary when I was 4. But to make up for it, when the movie finally came out on VHS, they bought it as they did with the second one. It was just kind of like instant buy movies, which was like, that didn't happen all the time. A movie had to be like a hit to hit like major rental stores for sale right out of the gate back then.
Yeah.
Like Look Who's Talking was another one. We covered that previously on VCR Redux. I'm surprised this movie didn't have like swag to sell you at the beginning of the VHS tape, because it was like in that era and it was a total sleeper hit, I think. I don't think like Dennis Dugan was not a hot director when this movie came out.
Denny Dugan.
I think the great Dennis Dugan. I mean, we have to give credit to where it's due. He would go on to become a great comedy director, one of like the most prominent comedy directors of the 1990s. And he started off right at the beginning with Problem Child.
Well, you know the story behind Problem Child, right?
Well, I have a feeling you're going to tell it, which I'm excited for.
Well, and I apologize, I forget their name, but the screenwriters of Problem Child were the ones that just they recently had hits with Dolomite Is My Name and Ed Wood. This is like their first screenplays that they did, and this was a movie that was supposed to just I think there was a studio strike, so they had to put something into it. So Universal real quick put this movie into production, was supposed to go out into theaters and just do nothing. It actually ticked off Universal that the movie became a hit, because they were supposed to, this could have been a tax write-off, this could have been it's
like
everything.
The Revenge of the Nerds thing.
Yeah, this was supposed to be a movie that bombed and all of a sudden becomes a hit, and you literally have Universal studio executives going like, shit, we have to, Dan, you're supposed to suck. And now you don't. Crap.
Oh, in all fairness, this movie should not have done well. I mean, it's a black comedy. Like it's a dark movie in theory.
There are at least like 19 instances in the first movie where when watching it recently, I just like point at the screen and say like murder. That is murder. Like we're watching murder. Like people getting pushed out of second-story windows. That's murder. Like people like taking the bulldozer into the trailer home. Like that is like multiple murders. Like it's just so much.
It's like Minority Report. Murder.
Well, and it's based on a true story. They saw this article about parents who legally wanted to sue to give the kid back because the kid was so rotten.
Oh, wow.
That they didn't want to, they adopted this kid and he turned out to be a jerk and they wanted to give it back. And the orphanage was like, that's not how this works. Like,
this is a one-way transaction.
This isn't Walmart. Like, this isn't a Kmart special. You can't just put this on layaway or, return. Like, we don't have a return policy. And they originally wrote it as a serious kind of thing. Like this could be a really good horror setup, but then they were like, you know what, let's just make this is more funny than it is, you know, and their agent was like, well, you could sell it more if it's a comedy. I believe that's how it kind of happened. But anyways, again, it's just they did it. It wasn't supposed to be a hit. And then all of a sudden they come back and they're like, well, now you got to do a sequel. And they're like, we don't want to do a sequel. We hated this project. And they're like, nope, got to do a sequel. And so they talk about being in the commissary of Universal Studio and seeing their poster on the wall and like, you know, saying, we're the Ma and Pa Kettles of our generation. Great. We wrote that, you know. So, but their career's fine. I mean, they went on to do amazing stuff. So,
in the words of Sean Astin, corny sells. Corny like stays around, you know. He's like, all the stuff in the Goonies I thought was cheesy turned out to be the stuff that people quote, like it's our time down, you know.
Oh yeah,
it's our time now or whatever, like all that stuff.
How it got a PG rating too. Like, I mean, like you think about movies in the past, and it's like that was PG.
I mean, there's worse movies that are PG for sure, with like way more stuff going on than Problem Child. Like other than like that's murder. It's like, what do you call it? Cartoon violence, I guess.
Yeah.
But I find it interesting that it started out like Mikey. You ever see Mikey with Brian Bonsall from Family Ties and Blank Check?
Oh man,
where like the killer kid, you know,
that was
you know,
bad.
he's standing there, his mom's in the bathtub, and he throws like the you know boombox in, and like he's always killing. It's like basically an evil Home Alone.
Yeah, no, it totally is. Like these movies are like the anti Home Alone.
Well, what came first, Home Alone or Problem Child?
I think Home Alone because it was, or no, Home Alone would have come later. I think
later.
Yeah, Home Alone was late in 1990. That was when I saw. That was when I wanted to see Home Alone and Rocky V, and my parents took me to Dance with Wolves. I remember it now. It was horrifying. Two fantastically unique films.
You liked it. You enjoyed it.
It's no Rocky V. I'll tell you that right now.
What kid's gonna like Dances with Wolves, Ian?
This kid. That is an Oscar-winning movie, and you know it. Knock it off.
Well, before we get back to Problem Child, do you want to touch on the chat again? Angie Saunders, the other mashup genius in the chat, says Cold Mountain is awesome. Alex Bonafonte says Cold Mountain makes goat meat appetizing. I guess you would have to have seen Cold Mountain to get that.
Yeah, that is the most fascinating thing I've ever heard in my life. I love our audience.
Our friends at Retrofiend said that when they worked there, the workers called it Ballbuster Video. That's cute. Alex Bonafonte asked,
so you didn't want to work there anyway, Melanie. It's a terrible company.
Alex Bonafonte asks, is Problem Child a remake of The Omen? That is a interesting take. Maybe we'll find a crossover there when we come to our pitches in the second half hour. And a new name, Jazz Beelby, says, I thought it was absolutely brilliant that John Ritter's wife played two different characters in Problem Child 1 and 2. Mm-hmm. Good call. And that is a perfect,
Amy Yazbek.
Yes, amazing Amy Yazbek. Also from, of course, Robin Hood Men in Tights. What else? I know she's been in a few other things that I'm
Wings. I remember
Wings,
that was
yes.
I remember her being in Wings because that was also on USA all the time too.
yeah,
reruns. They're just USA in the 90s. I don't think it'll ever relive those glory days.
Oh my gosh, American Gladiators, Wings, freaking Gilbert Gottfried,
Rhonda Shear.
Oh, Rhonda Shear. Like USA had everything.
And they definitely had some sneaky weird deal with Universal movies because they were always showing Universal movies, which Problem Child was. But that's a perfect transition on to talk about part 2. I mean, of course, we haven't even mentioned Jack Warden yet, the amazing Big Ben Healy, who fucking just chews the shit and steals every goddamn scene.
Movie. Jack Warden, one of those. I will watch any movie with Jack Warden. I don't care what it is. I'll watch any movie as long as Jack Warden's in. The Verdict,
Big Ben Healy. I feel like it's just so like he's so born to play that role. Like there's nobody else that could have played that role.
Totally.
Oh my God, Dirty Work he was in. You know
the Replacements. We can just go like movie by movie, but yeah, it's classic.
The Jack Warden Appreciation Hour. But yeah, I mean he's probably better.
That's the podcast I will be on every single episode right there.
He's probably even better, as is Amy Yazbek in part 2. I mean, we're kind of skipping over Michael Richards a little bit as well from part one.
Yeah, the bow tie killer.
This is pre like racist meltdown Michael Richards, when he was still just that guy from Seinfeld, that zany guy. The bow tie killer. Who would have thought that was like the peak of his movie career right there?
Bow tie killer. Yeah. I mean,
Seriously.
It's classic. Like you think about like, part one where Junior is basically writing to like a serial killer or like a mass murderer or whatever I case to be. And all of a sudden, like this guy, like, oh, this is my friend. And he has to like, when he has to break out and go find this guy that's been writing him letters. Cause he's like, that guy I'm going to team up with. And it's a kid.
It is a great subplot. It really is. And then running away with the wife makes it even better. And like, honestly, not to delve too much back at the first movie still, but like for me, John Ritter does all the hard work in this movie. Like, he makes the movie work, and he like just really goes for it. And he just tries to, like, he screams at the top of his lungs. Like when he's losing his mind, you really believe that he's unhinged.
Think about this too. He had an out too when he loses it, like, after like, his wife and everything else, whatever. And he has it out. He sees on the wall, basically like, give me 100,000 or you'll never see your wife and kid again. That's an out. It's like,
and he celebrates it for a moment until he sees Junior's drawing that Junior drew everyone like dragons and monsters. And then Mr. Healy is, nice. Mm-hmm. But getting into the second film, of course, this is at an age I can't really watch the second one as objectively as I can most movies, because like it's one of those sequels that I probably shouldn't like very much, but I do. I absolutely love Problem Child.
I love it.
I love it too. Like, I love Chowdown. I love Lorraine Newman is Wanda Dumore. Like she's such a great villain. I love the all the like the dating montage of shit with John Ritter and like the husband at the bar, and like the husband's the only guy who bought the Ben Healy starter pack.
Which you don't get that till later. You don't get that till later. Like you see him in the first scene with the Ben Healy starter pack out there, and then he was like, I only sold one, and you're like, oh
my god. And Jack Warden haggling the twin girls from like everything in the 90s. They were in Kindergarten Cop, who was selling his suits. Like that. There's a lot of great stuff in the second movie. The bug scene, like, if a movie's made of moments that you remember, that's definitely one of them. But I do want to touch on the chat, of course. Oh, I'm sorry. We're gonna say.
Well, I was just gonna say there's a great podcast actually where the writers are talking about it. And I remember listening to it. And the best part is the sequel. If you watch it, there's a lot of gross stuff in it, right? Like peas in the lemonade. The dog takes a big giant dump. They wrote this literally to not get it made.
Really?
So they literally threw all this stuff in there, hoping that the studio bosses would read it and go, we're not doing this. And they had first bad, and then they'd give it to somebody else, right? They were trying to save their reputation. The studio loved it. They're like, great, go into production. And again, they're like, shit, are you serious? We're gonna have the reputation of being the problem child, people.
But thankfully for the studio, Terminator 2 came out around the same time too. So
I love the fact that Problem Child is this bane of existence of these writers, and yet they also say is the movie that they still get paychecks from. This is the one they still get the the 50-cent checks in the mail every week, because somewhere in this world Problem Child is playing on a TV somewhere.
Yeah, it's on Peacock.
It's on Peacock. Yeah, it's streaming now.
On Peacock.
Jesus Christ. Well, there is an interesting story of what happened to young Michael Oliver after Problem Child 2, which is why he was not in Problem Child 3. And I did not know this until recently. Ian
we're going to talk about that.
From listening to Gilbert Gottfried's podcast. So, Ian, you probably remember this story better than I do. Do you want to tell this one?
Well, yeah. I mean, he wanted to do acting, but basically he got screwed in the contract. And so as a child actor, his parents, really did read the contract saying this is not right. I mean, all this money the movie's making, and really he got paid basically scale per day, and they're banking this movie on Oliver. And so he ended up in a really weird way. In the middle of Problem Child 2, his parents sued the studio, and it's actually a
landmark case
case with children actors in films. But the bravery of doing that, because basically the agents were like, "Hey, you'll never work in this town again if you guys do this," and their parents are like,
okay.
Yeah,
well,
like literally, there's like, we don't care. And it's kind of similar to the Scarlett Johansson thing going on right now. Yeah, everybody's like, "You're gonna sue Disney?" Scarlett's like, "I don't care.
Well,
I was in the Horse Whisperer. What do you want?"
He did lose though, too, right? Didn't he not have to pay the money back?
I can't remember. I
think I read up on it, and like he lost basically. Him and its like parents, they had to pay back like 250,000 plus like another 80,000 or something like that.
Oh,
I don't remember what it was, but I mean,
I think you're right. Yeah.
So I mean, they lost. I mean, that's not really right.
But it literally is what killed Problem Child 3. That was it.
Well,
it was this
lawsuit.
lawsuit.
What you wind up getting for Problem Child 3 is a made-for-TV movie that literally brings back, I think, one actor from the original franchise who was Murph. I think it's Eric Andrews, I believe his name is.
No, Gilbert's in it.
Oh, is Gilbert in it? Okay.
Yeah, Gilbert Gottfried's the only one who really returned too.
Okay. So they got Gilbert Gottfried and they got Murph, who's like the huge kid in Problem Child 2.
Yeah. Could even have brought back James Tolkien, right? The sixth grader,
the sixth grader. Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. Who is also Miofsky in National Lampoon Senior Trip, which is just a phenomenal film. Just have to plug that when I get a chance. Melanie's like, "Oh my God, what a turd."
Chris.
I'm sorry. That movie gave us Jeremy Renner, among other things. It gave us another role for Matt Frewer. It gave us another Matt Frewer role.
Mm-hmm.
Love Matt Frewer.
Stop talking. Oh my God, you're right.
That's goddamn right.
That was one of his first movies.
I used to always watch that movie and be like, "Why didn't that guy ever get huge? Like, what the hell happened?" And then one day I was watching, I'm like, "Oh my God, that's Jeremy Renner. He did. Okay, cool."
It did. It did.
Mission accomplished. Me watching this movie every 5 years and asking that question got it done. So I do want to touch on the chat a little bit. The people are starting to get their pitches in. We will get to those at the half-hour mark. Girls Not Blue says Problem Child 2 legit tried to sell us dog food mid-movie, which would have been one of the most shameful and amazing product placement of all the 90s, like all the weird shit that happened in 90s product placement. Like Talk Boy was a toy from Home Alone 2 that wasn't real, but the demand became so big that someone made it real.
Yeah.
If Chowdown became a real thing, I feel like people like somehow we're kind of assholes. Like we would have done it. Like we would have bought into it. Like we would have started getting Chowdown, and everyone would have sworn my dog took a dump like Problem Child. Like 3 foot dump. It's what Chowdown does.
You made a snowman out of poop.
Oh my God. But for those who have seen the made-for-TV third movie that doesn't have John Ritter and doesn't have Michael Oliver, if you're a fan of it, that's cool. We ain't mad at you. It just didn't do it for me personally. I can't speak for everyone else.
Don't you dare skip over this movie, Chris. You give this TV movie the respect it deserves.
It doesn't deserve a lot. It deserves respect for that.
I never saw it either.
It aired for one Sunday in like 1995, and it went never ever again did it show up until a year ago. It popped up on Tubi.
And it's on demand and stuff.
So you can watch it. It's out there.
I do know that William Catt is the father, right?
Yeah. They replaced.
That's right.
Yeah.
But it's literally a new junior, a new dad, completely different, but same characters. It's Junior and it's,
Big Ben or Ben Healy.
Big Ben, Little Ben.
So there was Jack Warden in it. I don't remember Jack Warden being in it. I did actually
Jack
watch
Ward
it.
Wasn't in. Jack
right. So they had a different person playing Big Ben.
Yeah, I mean, but basically,
which is just disrespectful.
Take Revenge of the Nerds, I, The Next Generation, and put that in a blender with Problem Child 2 VHS, and you pretty much get what Problem Child 3 is.
That is an insult to Nerds 3.
I like Nerds 3 though.
Which
Who
is,
doesn't
I'm not
like
gonna say
Revenge
one
of the
way or
Nerds,
the other,
the
but
Next
that's
Generation.
the movie you're understating it a little bit because it's worse than that. That's
All
that's
right.
insulting to
Take
both those
Revenge of the
efforts.
Nerds IV, Nerds in Love.
Okay.
Mix it in a blender with that.
All right.
Add a little bit of Pepto-Bismol. There's Problem Child.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
That's fair. And a little bit of Encino Woman, whatever. The
Yes,
Encino Man
Encino
2
Woman.
made
Yeah,
for
yeah,
TV, one that aired once and never popped up anywhere.
That's the documentary you need to do, Melanie. There was an Encino
Encino Woman.
We want that documentary out there in this world.
I'll get on it.
Writes notes.
This is a great documentary. How many people viewed it? 4.
So we are at the half-hour mark. So that means everyone in the chat and everyone on the panel, it is time for your hot takes on how to continue this beloved franchise. I will read a little bit of what's already been pitched in the chat to help warm you guys up. Alex Bonafonte says, my pitch is semi-autobiographical. I did 3 years as a substitute in mostly EBD classrooms, emotionally, behaviorally disturbed. I have some horror stories. Okay. Well, Ian, you're a man of you teach the kids and stuff. So whatever that is, a teacher, maybe you can relate to that. I don't know if you've ever taught the emotionally, behaviorally disturbed children.
Yeah, I'm sure we have them in classrooms and stuff like that. And it can be a challenge. There's no doubt about it, but
maybe a difficult take to sell to the masses on like Problem
it would be interesting to see how in a 2021 approach you could take that subject matter and make it as comedy. I don't know, but look, this series was based on hey, let's write the most ridiculous idea to not get this movie made, and then it gets greenlit for $1 million and something. So I mean, who knows.
So Alex Bonafonte also says problem children. Okay, he's getting deeper into his pitch now. Plot synopsis: college grad with student debt signs on to teach EBD, and her, inspired by a colleague, life becomes a living hell. Awful kids from all walks of life, PG-13 hijinks, lots of funny, violent humor that actual awful children will pay attention to. In the end, the way they learn how to empathize a bit, maybe, probably not. Amy Asbeck is pill-popping principal. Sequel problem parents. Okay. Jazz Beelby, I don't know if you didn't know there was a Problem Child 3 until I saw this panel for Problem Child 4. Well, glad we're here to inform you, Jazz.
Tubi, it's out there. Look it up. Give it the mad respect it deserves.
Or just read the Wikipedia and find the plot synopsis and call it a day.
As a teacher, I can never recommend Wikipedia.
Also, Alex Bonafonte is requesting a link to Melanie's documentary in the comments, por favor. Her documentary is not finished yet, but I'm sure you have something you can let the people link to or whatever, which we will do. We always do at the end of the show, and we'll definitely be sure to drop it in the comment section on YouTube as well. So I was just in here, I can post it to chat for you. Okay, yeah, that's just Kyle telling me he can post it there. Yeah, I don't know. Do you guys have any hot takes? Problem Child? Do you want to see Junior come back? Do you want to see be about the ghost of John Ritter? I mean, is that a thing you can overcome?
No, but I feel like it's perfect. I feel it's perfect for this movie to have the funeral. Junior's there. Obviously, like the one man he really loved dies. So now he's grieving with that. But Junior has his own problem child too. And then you still have, because remember in the second one you have Trixie too.
TOO.
Right.
Yeah. So you have Trixie, who's now his sister, because Angie and little Ben, they married, but obviously he dies. So you still have Amy Asbeck, as the mother. You have Trixie, his sister, but Trixie has her own problem child too. And the two of them, their problem childs are going to school together too, and everything else like that. So now Junior and Trixie have to be the better parents now. They have to deal with their problem childs.
All right. I mean, I'm down for most of that. That's pretty, right on the nose. You gotta like honor John Ritter, in some way.
And I think by having the funeral, I don't know
if I want to open with the funeral. That may be like a little too morose. Like maybe like you know, you open with them like visiting the grave on the anniversary or on his birthday or some shit. So it's a little less like it's a little more distance from it because John Ritter has been gone for almost 20 years now.
These movies in general are pretty black. So I don't think that, you know, like it's par for the course.
Yeah, I mean, you know, to me, it's going to be so hard to not have Jack Warden. I feel like you need to like one of the key ingredients, like for me, A, you got to bring back Gilbert Godfrey. And then
definitely.
B, you gotta find some way of like filling that cup that's left empty by Jack Warden as well. You're never gonna fill the John Ritter cup, so like you honor it with some tribute to him. But like you got to fill that Jack Warden comedy cup with something. And I don't know who.
Well, I think he probably married Luann, so like you could have them there too. Luanda, rather, yeah.
Oh, okay.
I will accept nobody less than Lewis Black.
Oh, okay.
Lewis Black as who?
To fill the Jack Warden hole. Yeah.
He can't be Big Ben. But you gotta have that filler. You gotta have that filler guy in there.
Could it be an uncle?
The grumpy, grumpy uncle. Yeah, Big Ben's brother, you know, or something.
Yeah.
You know, Lewis,
or
somebody like
principal
Lewis
at the
Black,
school or something. You
know, somebody like Lewis Black or an older, grumpier, you know, Ron White. You know, some older comedian that has that kind of angry approach. Because that was a great part about Jack Warden. He was just an angry man, and he was perfect old and bitter old man. You know,
I would say Bill Burr, but he's not old. So
he's not old enough yet.
Yeah,
he would almost make more sense in like the Godfrey type of role if you were like redoing that. But no, you got to bring back Godfrey because he's perfect. And the man,
or he could be like a next door neighbor too. Bill Burr could be a great next door neighbor.
Yeah, that would be interesting actually. Like his, you know, he's the parent of one of the other kids at the school that you know, they do something awful to or whatever. I mean, that's the other thing is like, you know, how are you going to like, you can't bring back that kind of cartoon violence in 2021, you know, like they're not going to like let you have a kids movie where like a toddler drives a bulldozer through a trailer park.
Yeah. Or like he literally like pisses in lemonade and serves it to people.
I mean, I feel like that might still ride because
that's the ride.
Like think
he is universal, Mickey. I mean,
no, think about that. Like at the beginning of the 90s, yeah, that was pretty risque, but by the end of the 90s, like that was not like something about Mary, like those ads and shit like that. Like every marketing campaign was like, what's in her hair? Like
that's
so
true.
I feel like the pee in the lemonade is like the one gag you could kind of like redo again. But I don't know. You know,
what world are we living in? That literally was the ad campaign for There's Something About Mary.
That really was, yeah.
I mean,
and that's 22 years ago, and we were all like kids at the time, and now we're like, get off my lawn! like, how did this ever happen? Like, what the hell? But yeah, no, it's
there's no more Blockbuster. Jiminy Christmas.
Funny sidebar: Kevin Smith says he wrote a scene like that for Mallrats, and Universal told him it was too much. Like, no, Kevin. Like, you there's a line. You can't do that's just disgusting. Like no one would ever, you know, want to see that in a movie.
Yeah, the stinky palm was left in.
Yeah, right. Stink palm's cool. The shit handshake chocolate pretzel's fine, but like
finger cuffs,
it was probably
all that stuff.
I mean,
it was a lot.
I don't know. I've never read the original script for Mallrats, so maybe it was out of place. The movie certainly doesn't need that. I think it's fine without it. But getting back to Problem Child, I mean, these are things that all make sense to me. You know, it's Amy Asbeck. Like, I feel like you have to have her. I think it would be kind of cool to actually see her back in both roles. Obviously, not in the same scene together because I don't want to get all fancy like that.
Ooh, that's very fun. I like it.
The evil. Like, I'm kind of curious what happened to her and like
Flo.
To Flo, exactly. And like,
I almost really feel like she probably like waited for the bow tie killer to come out, like if he ever did get like out and they married each other.
You know, the worst part about Problem Child in the 90s was the edit on TV. If you get the VHS, when Flo opens the bag on TV, she's looking at a pig face. They slice in a pig looking at her, right? Okay. And you hear and oh God. You get the VHS though. She looks straight at a giant massive pig testicles, and there's a fart noise. I know there's a fart noise. Please correct me if I'm wrong. Yeah. I mean, that's... I'm gonna laugh for hours just thinking of that scene, but that's great sound effects.
We grew up in an era where movies were heavily chopped up and re-edited for television, and even a movie as relatively PG and squeaky clean as Problem Child suffered the same dark fate. I wish I could remember what the hell those TV scenes that were added were, though. But there were definitely some like, you know, weird 90s, like I don't know what to call them other than weird 90s moments, like in 2 when Trixie shoots Junior with like the hose, and he's clearly on like a platform with like a little like fire, you know, like a little thing, like, you know, pushing him. They're just like dollying him down the hallway. But even when I was a kid, I'm like, that's something weird about this shot. That's like not quite right. Like it doesn't, I don't think that's how water works.
You got to do the Spike Lee shot, you know?
But it's like, it reminds me of like the Beethoven movies when they would cut to like the puppet dog that wasn't the real dog for like reaction shots. So they could make its eyes like budge out. Like, I don't know. They're just weird 90s moments, but it's going to be tough to bring any of that stuff back. I mean, so I'm mostly down with Mickey's idea though, at the same time, you know, like Junior's got a problem child and Trixie's got a problem child. Like that makes sense to me. I think another one of the many ways the third film went wrong was by not having Trixie. It was just by like retconning that whole storyline. And like, well, because they're not getting John Ritter, and then they're not going to get Amy Yazbek, who's John Ritter's wife in real life. A lot of people don't know that. But and I feel like I don't know if I don't want to like say that she's not working, but I haven't seen her anything in a long time.
I have not seen her in a while either, but
like
she was in the TV show that he was on for, you know, the one
8 Simple Rules.
Yeah, she was on that for a little bit, I think.
Yeah.
Okay. She didn't play his wife though, right? Who played his wife on that? Yeah, I thought it was Katie. Yeah, Katie Segal, right?
Yeah, but or she produced it or something like that. But she was on the set. I know. I remember. Yeah, listen to a podcast with her talking about it.
Oh, The Mask. That's what else she was in that I couldn't think of before. She's in The Mask with Jim Carrey, and you totally expect her to be like the sweet innocent one, and she's the villain. Or like sort of. She sort of double crosses him or whatever.
I don't remember.
Like a double agent, sort of.
Yeah. I can like barely remember The Mask at this point, but every now and again I'll tune into it, like, you know, maybe 5 to 15 minutes on TV, and I'm like, it's just one of those things. It's like, what the fuck? It's like when you watch Ren and Stimpy, you're like, oh my God, how is this a thing?
I almost feel like if I start to watch The Mask, I'm like, I'd rather watch Ace Ventura.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm with Mickey on that.
Or like any Problem Child or any other Jim Carrey movie. But getting back to Problem Child, Alex Bonafonte in the chat says, of course, the obvious can't recast Ritter, and that Problem Child makes bow ties forever creepy. I guess that's sort of true.
Yeah.
You know, it is a weird thing that I remember, like bow ties became a thing for a while. Like, I feel like it was just maybe 3, 4, or 5 years ago now, but like bow ties made like a 1-season comeback. It was like that. It's like that spring in 1998 when all sorts of guys were wearing capri pants, you know, and it was just like, I was astounded and confounded every time I encountered it in the wild. I was like, what is this?
I think you astounded Ian just now with that statement.
I don't remember. I'm pretty sure I don't remember any guys I knew ever wearing capri pants, but we were in
not guys that I knew, but I would see them in the wild. You know, like you're out on the streets, doing your thing, and there's boom.
I have seen the man buns kind of out there in the jungles of, you know.
It's like sort of the man bun of its day, if you will.
I think bow ties are still around. I think it's just like another, like it's a hipster trend or whatever. I mean, like, I don't know.
I think they're around that people still try to keep them around.
Yeah.
And it's like, just let it had its time. It's all right. Just you know.
Well, as much as the bow tie became a trademark of Problem Child, I feel like that's also the toughest thing to bring back at this point. Of all the things, like, you could bring back the kitty murder people out of windows and shit, but you can't bring back Michael Richards now. Like, I feel like that's a bridge too far.
That is
for very, very good reason. So that's kind of a shame. Like, you have to drop like this sort of signature aspect of the first movie. It probably would have made for a nice callback in a Problem Child 4, or I don't know, you could call it Problem Child 3 and just pretend that one never happened, or you could
no.
Right.
Just reboot it, or you make a direct sequel to the original and you just call it Problem Child and confuse everybody.
Yes, do the Halloween
pretty
thing,
much, yeah.
retcon like half of the shit and be like, yeah, this is the sequel to that one. It's called, was it called 3? No, it's called 1. It's just called.
All right, get this. You open up the movie, right? The Universal logo, all that kind of stuff. And it's William Cat. And he's sitting there, and no, stop it. And he's sitting there, and it's like, you turn this into like a Blumhouse horror movie where it's like he's scared of Junior and all this kind of stuff, and all of a sudden it's like, I don't know how it would happen, but all of a sudden the film strip rips, right? Like and all of a sudden he's in a movie theater, and it's Junior sitting with popcorn, and he's like in his 30s, 40s now, and he's like, that was a stupid movie. All of a sudden, we're in Problem Children. All right. And it's Junior is now working at an adoption agency, and the whole movie is about problem children. Right. We're going to go. This is going to be their story, and it's Junior now trying to make their
you're going with like
better.
The Kindergarten Cop vibe, clearly.
Yes.
He's got 20 of the cutest and funniest kids you can find.
Oh yeah,
and they have an amazing collection of scenes. So what's your like through line? How do you tie that all together?
Gilbert Gottfried.
All right, that works. I'm sold. You just sold me. You got my 950.
I don't need to say anything else. I don't need to say anything else. But the through line though is, it is Junior, like you can honor everything that we're talking about, right? One, we retcon the fact that Problem Child 3 didn't exist, right? We just told you, we made a mistake. We're sorry. Don't blame us.
I think they should do the Toxic Avenger thing, where like if you ever watch Citizen Toxic Avenger 4, they're like, we made this movie in 1984 and it was great. Then 2 shitty sequels happened. This is the real sequel.
And I deny all of that.
You could do it this way. They're like, we made this movie in 1990. It was supposed to bomb and it made money. Then they wrote a sequel that they didn't want it to get made, and it did, and it made money. Then everyone sued everyone, and everyone fucking hated people, and they made a made-for-TV piece of shit. This is the real third film.
And now it's number 4 in space.
This is the real third film.
You gotta go space. You gotta go
space. It's 4. You gotta go space.
Yeah. Well, space is where franchises go to die. So that's just what they should have done with the third film. Would have been better.
What if Junior really does give birth to Satan? Like he really like he hooks up with this woman and they give birth to Satan.
This is dark, man.
Yeah.
Turned it into the horror movie.
Now that could be kind of cool. Like imagine if it's so now you get kind of meta about the whole thing. It's the actual actor in Problem Child.
Yeah.
And this demon or whatever sees Problem Child, and now he's like, I'm gonna go into that guy's life. And so now it's this kind of like being John Malkovich of a demon baby for Problem Child.
I feel like this is like an Onion article turned into like a potential sketch comedy bit.
This is real life, sir.
Which I love.
This is realsies.
Or like something out of like Upright Citizens Brigade, really. Like, how do we spread chaos? Like, we're gonna turn the kid from Problem Child into the Antichrist.
You get the Rosemary's Baby weird little tail thing flopping up all over the place.
It works. And bring back those twins.
And the hero, and the real hero is he doesn't know what to do. So who's he go to? Gilbert Gottfried.
Oh, well, if you do your version where Junior is, working for like an adoption agency or whatever, like an orphanage or something, then you could definitely have Gilbert Gottfried, like they're like work frenemies,
Oh yeah, he totally has a competing company or something like that, or whatever.
Or something like that. Yeah, there's a lot of opportunity for comedy there for sure. I'm still not sure.
As long as you just put Gilbert Gottfried in it, it doesn't matter. He could be the janitor. It wouldn't matter. It's Gilbert Gottfried. You've already sold me.
So
Gilbert Gottfried and stuff again? Has his canceled ship sailed?
Yeah,
I think so,
I think it's like
he got canceled for like having kind of like bad taste in a joke.
Yeah,
you know?
he did,
but like not for being
jokes.
A garbage person to other people.
Yeah, no, he got canceled. Yeah, because I think there had been a tsunami in Japan.
Yeah.
And he made a joke about it like right after it happened. And so Progressive, like, you don't get to be the duck anymore. Get out.
Oh, see, I thought that was the 9/11.
He was
joke.
Affleck, right? He was Affleck, right?
Oh, Affleck. That's what I meant.
Yeah, he was Affleck.
Yeah.
No, the 9/11 joke he did on the roast. It was on Hugh Hefner's roast, and everybody booed him, and that's when he went into the aristocrats joke that just like came out of nowhere.
Right.
I don't remember any of this, but I love Gilbert Gottfried, so I'm gonna definitely go down that rabbit hole tonight.
He's not canceled to me.
But I agree. That would be the first thing a studio would say, though. Melanie is right. They'd be like, "Wow, you can't have Gilbert Gottfried." It's like, well,
canceled.
Well, that would be after then saying like, "Who's Gilbert Gottfried?" Because come on, let's be honest.
What you say though is, "Oh, we're gonna bring back Michael Richards." You can't bring back Michael Richards. Oh, okay. All right. Well, let us have Gilbert Gottfried. Okay, that's fine as long as you don't do Michael Richards. All right.
I don't know if we're ever allowed to bring back Michael Richards.
No, you can't. But Ian's right. You show that as your bluff card. You know,
that's
it's
your
like
bluff card.
Ask for 10 grand so you can get 1,000. You know, or whatever.
That's exactly it. You know,
they would probably pay Gilbert that much too.
Worth every penny.
Yeah, he's worth way more than that. But yeah, they'd probably lowball him on the deal.
But I do like that. I do like that. You don't have to. You don't replace John Ritter. I mean, 100%. You don't do that. You don't. You got to have that mean guy in there. So again, that's what I'm saying. You can have like a,
Lewis Black would be good.
Lewis Black, or or just some comedian that has that angry vibe to it.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah, you do need a little bit of that kind of like frustration comedy or whatever.
Yeah, I love the idea of bringing back Lorraine Newman. She owns the orphanage or something like that, or something like that. I just like Junior. I like Junior.
She could be the principal. She could be the stuffy principal at his new school. Like, I hate kids, and I'm gonna punish every one of them. Kids.
Yeah.
I just like Junior now being like, he is the good, because that's the thing. Junior should now do. You get it. John Ritter's son.
Oh yeah.
Jason Ritter.
Jason Ritter as Junior.
Oh.
He's not. Doesn't have red hair though.
No.
You can dye his hair. It's fine.
I mean, honestly, the kid looks all right. The kid who was Junior, I've seen footage of him recently.
Oh, is it? Well, I love the original.
He hasn't like aged badly by any means or anything like that.
I think you have to bring him back. I'm sorry.
I think you really do. I mean, I love Jason Ritter. I would definitely want to see him in the movie somehow.
He could do the soundtrack
or something. What is he?
He could be the dad who's adopting the problem children.
Yeah, he's an artist now, so he has his own music. He could do the soundtrack.
Yeah, that.
Like, I know this is all like very hypothetical, like, so I'm trying not to think of it in a way where I'm like, no, you could never sell this. So I'm trying to I'm coming at it from a standpoint. I'm like, I'm really trying to remember this is all hypothetical. We are not pitching an actual sequel to Problem Child.
Oh no, we are, Melanie. This is exactly what this is.
We're going to first draft by Wednesday. All right.
Is gonna see this and is gonna go nuts. So I'm thinking, I'm like, okay, if I'm thinking like a actual like studio executive, I'm thinking like, no, we can't bring back Michael Oliver's Jr. because like nobody knows who he is. So we have to recast it with someone who's more, with someone who's more well known to a general audience, because
Ed Sheeran.
Carrot Top.
So they got other redheads. Yeah, like what other redheads are famous?
Literally.
Okay. First off, one of you suggested Ed Sheeran. The other one suggested Carrot Top. You bastards.
I'm joking. I was
sorry. I was joking too. I'm like, come on.
Chucky doll. Just put a Chucky doll.
Yeah, Brad Dourif as Problem Child 4.
I mean, look, Junior could have grown out of the red hair. I mean, let's be real.
I agree.
Like, it
I agree with Melanie. It's kind of true. If you were actually pitching this, they would want a bankable person. Yeah. They would not get Oliver back. They just would
be like, all right, look, we're gonna put a red wig on Zac Efron. It's gonna be great. It's gonna be great.
Huge.
Yeah, it's gonna be huge. So we are almost out of time. I do want to touch up on the chat before we get to plugs and stuff like that. Some other suggestions in there. Alex Bonafonte thought maybe this would be a vehicle for a Dennis Leary comeback. That's kind of interesting. Also pitched Problem Omen, some crossovers there. Girls Not Blue wants cameos from Macaulay Culkin, Jonathan Taylor Thomas, Matilda, and other creepy 90s kids that talk like adults. Alex Bonafonte says cast David Hasselhoff. David Hasselhoff. Yeah, Hasselhoff, right?
What are you starring Bonanza there, buddy?
Oh my God. And Retro Fiend Radio says Ian McShane can pull off a good angry / funny Jack Warden type character pretty well.
Interesting.
Yeah, and there's some talk about canceled actors and this and that, but that is about time for us to wrap it up. So before we do, Melanie, is there anything cool you have upcoming in the works, or any DVDs or Blu-rays that you have that are out in stores that you want to brag about? Or
I mean, you kind of mentioned it. I mean, honestly, you know, any of them that you want to purchase. I worked on the special features for Heather's, the Steelbook that came out. The Little Monsters Blu-ray has an awesome Howie Mandel interview on it. And yeah, I mean, hopefully I can work on some more of those.
The Vestron?
Yes.
Oh, you worked on that. Okay, cool. I actually bought that. So.
Oh yeah, no, it. You know, Howie Mandel he's probably like the most famous person that I've ever had to arrange an interview with, and probably the easiest to arrange an interview with. Shocking to me. I was like, oh, I'm never going to be able to get Howie Mandel to do this. I got a response from his people in like an hour, and they're like, yeah, can you come on this date? And I'm like, yes, I can.
That's awesome.
Nice.
So cool.
That's a really good interview too. He goes in depth on the movie. Like he really gets.
You know, he brought the jacket, Maurice's jacket from the movie. We did not ask him to do that. I guess because we assumed that he didn't have it, but he shows up with it. And no, it was an awesome interview, and it was the easiest. I've never had such an easy time setting up an interview, and he's definitely like the busiest person I've ever had to set up an interview up with.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so cool.
All right, you know, actually, him in Problem Children.
Hey, I'm always in favor of more Howie Mandel. I actually got that. My roommates got me that for my birthday, and I haven't even watched it yet because it's like a special occasion disc. I'm like, oh, this beautiful Vestron disc. Like, I have to, like I need someone to watch this with. It's like a good bottle of wine. You don't open it like when you're at home alone, And
I'll come over and we'll watch it.
I think my roommates got it for me.
Stop dating people in movies, Mickey. Knock it off.
I'm saying that's not platonic. I'm just gonna go over and watch this movie.
Yeah, Mickey, we're due for a movie and pizza night, my friend. So we'll have to do that soon.
There you go.
Anyway, that about wraps it up for our plugs and all that stuff. So I do want to let you Fandom fans know, of course, you might want to tune in to tomorrow night's What If panel at 9 p.m. and Tuesday's Walking Dead Reactor panel featuring our very own governor. We also have more footage from New Jersey HorrorCon and DragonCon coming soon. And of course, we want you to tune in next Wednesday at 9 p.m. as we rev up the Wolfmobile and do some urban surfing when we resurrect the Teen Wolf franchise. As always, if there's a particular movie or TV franchise that you want us to cover in a future episode of VCR Redux, let us know in the comment section on YouTube. And since you're already doing that, you might as well go ahead and like, subscribe, and follow Fandom Spotlight, Rick Barth and The Line, The Hollow Knight Network, and Pop Culture Punk. And keep your eyes and ears on the lookout for the Angela Sleepaway Camp documentary. Until then, back up those Betamax, rewind those Laserdiscs, and we'll see you at the movies.